Hi, Dustin.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Happy October.
Happy October.
That,
How's it going? What's happening?
things are going well. Nothing too crazy here. How about you guys? I see on the social medias you're traveling all over the place lately.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
We had lots of gigs, lots of busyness, right?
Nice. How'd they go?
Up and down. It's interesting playing at a wedding where you have a horrible, evil, what would I call, event
Event planner.
coordinator.
Ooh,
Never
that's
have I
not
been
fun.
treated so horribly by an event coordinator. So weird.
I'm sorry to hear that. What can you say about it? Just a really unprofessional behavior or what?
Incredibly unprofessional, I would have to
Sorry
say
to hear
that.
that.
And I would highly recommend that no one get
Yeah.
married at that particular venue. I'm not going to say it on
Yep.
this,
Nope, of course not.
but if anyone's
Well,
curious, just send me a message and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
yeah, for you guys to say something, you guys are ultra professionals, so for you to say something, that says a lot right there. So
Yeah, I don't
that's
think
rough.
there's any
Sorry to hear
reason
about
to
it.
be mean to people.
Yeah, and it gets interesting because, like when like when you train to be a musician, you kind of train to be sensitive, and
Hmm.
then you get out into the real world and you start realizing it's like, wow, that doesn't really work.
It
So,
doesn't translate exactly.
right. So,
Yeah.
you kind of learn to develop a little bit thicker skin in order to appear professional, and you just sort of tolerate people kind of doing things that you just don't really understand. And then, you know, then you start, and you experience some personal growth as a result of that, which ultimately I think is a good thing.
Mhm.
But then, as things sort of then you meet somebody like what Julie's talking about, and it's just so off the charts that I don't know about I find myself just going WTF, like, really,
Yeah.
really, you got really, you
Yeah.
know
In every professional career I've had, I've stumbled upon someone like that somewhere along the line.
yep,
And you're not wrong, John, about the fact that, like, in order to be effective musicians, we need to be sensitive people. It kind of comes with the territory. I
yes,
don't know about you guys, but since we're talking about it, I can assume it's the same thing. When I encounter those people, like, it affects me, and I need to process it because
hmm
I just don't operate that way, and I'm not used to it. You know?
Yeah, same. I've pride myself surrounding myself with kind people.
yeah.
So when you encounter
100%.
someone who's deliberately mean, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, but and the best I got in those situations is just to remind myself, it's like, man, this is not about me. I okay. So the other
That's
day
true. Yeah.
we were out driving. We were driving home from the grocery store, and this guy driving a Truckosaurus, right? Now my pickup's actually pretty big,
Yep.
but this was a kind of a Truckosaurus, right? And I did something. I still haven't figured out exactly what I did, but he followed me almost to my house, like tailgating me and leaning on the horn the entire time. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I was not there.
Oh, Steve was with me.
Okay.
Steve was with me. It was unbelievable, and it was like,
Yeah.
for a minute I was like getting mad. It was like, wait, I didn't
Just
do it.
like very intentional aggression,
Yeah, oh yeah,
the smallest
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still don't even know what I did to set him off like that. But I mean, the only thing is, the only thing I got is it had nothing to do with me because I didn't do
Yeah.
anything wrong.
That
Well,
whoever
you're,
that is incredibly miserable in their
Yeah,
life.
well, you're right. Anybody that's going to
Yeah.
react in that way is just, it's about them, not you.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
So
life lesson right there.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. So anyway, so yay, guitar club, yay.
Welcome, Jane.
Back
It's
again.
good to see you here. And
Good to see you,
Dana,
Jay.
Nice to be here.
we
Good to
got a
see you
chance.
all.
Yeah.
Good to see you. We got a chance to hang with Dustin in person after a whole year of
Yep.
meeting virtually.
Yeah,
He came to our
Yep.
house for John and Julie's guitar workshop.
yeah. Which
It was
was
a
yeah,
ton of fun. Ton of fun.
yeah. So thank you again for participating with that. That was I mean it. So going forward, if there's any questions about any of that, please let me know what that is. At some point, after we've done a few of them, I'm probably going to do sort of a level 2, which would
Good.
be, which would more or less pick up where we left off with that first one. 'Cause it's a lot of information to take in
sure
one
is.
day.
I'm a little scared of level 2 because level 1 is still got me bleeding from the ears. In a good way.
It's hard
Well, good.
stuff.
Well,
That'll
good.
keep you going and active for a while.
All right.
All right, so cool. We are in the modes.
So
We're still in the modes. We've been in the modes for a while.
So, one of one of the things I've been thinking about a lot with, when I was a student at Berkeley, they covered all the modal stuff, and they taught me how modes work, and I came away from that experience knowing a lot about how to use the stuff for jazz, but not really for rock. So what I started doing was kind of, after I graduated, I kind of went back through all that information and tried to reprocess it in ways that made sense to me. So I'll tell you, there was a pivotal moment. I was in a harmony class, and if you know anything about Berkeley's how Berkeley teaches harmony, they kind of start with something called a 2-5 chord progression. A 2-5 chord progression simply means that if you're in the key of C, right, a 2 would be the 2 minor 7. In the case of C, it would be D minor 7. And then 5 would be G7. And then C would be 1. Or, because it's jazz, it's going to be all in 7th chord. So D minor 7 is 2 minor 7. G7 is 5 dominant 7. C major 7 is 1 major 7. So 2, 5, 1, right? So, that's the sort of fundamental principle. Now, the reason why that is because, that's a central harmonic tool used in so many jazz standards. So of course they're going to start there. And, what happens is you take the courses and you learn a million different variations on how 2-5s work, and, what they mean and how to handle them, both harmonically and improvisationally. So I left Berkeley being able to improvise 2-5s in any key and any variation, and it didn't improve my rock guitar playing at all.
Uh-oh.
Right? And I remember being in a class with a harmony teacher and I remember him saying, well, rock uses 2-5 chord progressions all the time. I mean, think about Stevie Wonder's "You Are the Sunshine of My Life." There's 2-5s all over that chord. And that's a rock tune. And I was thinking, you and I have very different definitions of what rock actually means. So, and to me, it's like, no. This is rock. That's rock.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
So, right. So,
2-5.
So one of the things I did start thinking about was, so if 2-5s happen occasionally in rock, right?
You're going to keep doing that, Julie. If you're going to keep doing that, not to interrupt you, John, I just got to point out the one thing. I read an interview with Jimmy Page one time where he said he slides up to the, and then he grabs that D on the A string.
Yes.
And turns it upward slightly. He hits the open D to...
Yes. Yeah.
That's the key to that riff, is just getting that microtone between the open D and
That's rock.
Sorry, if you're gonna play that, I just have to throw that out there. But yes, that's rock.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So anyway, so the question I was asking myself was, so if rock only occasionally uses 2-5 chord progressions, what harmonic devices does rock use more commonly, right? And the first thought that popped in my head was, well, 1-4-5, because that's kind of what blues is. And I started to look at some different rock tunes and realized that it was even simpler than that. That the most commonly used harmonic tool in rock tunes is really 4/5, which means two power chords a whole step apart from each other, right? Right? So, right. So think about how many rock tunes have power chords a whole step apart from each other.
I got one. Can I
Right,
show
okay,
you?
go ahead.
Do, 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 do. Oh. You know
Yep.
what that is?
What?
Yeah, is that on? Is that D to E
Danger
or C
Zone.
to
G flat to E flat. Oh wait.
Right.
What
okay.
else? Choose another one.
Yeah.
Okay. So so there's one. So how about, let me see.
No, we can't think of any.
Oh well. Okay, I got one. So
There's one. Yep.
all right.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. How does step heavy metal thunder, the Steppenwolf tune. Born to be Wild. It's Born to be Wild. Right, right.
Right? Anybody
Paranoid.
else got one?
Right. So I mean, there's a million of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the theory I came up with was that that if you're trying to figure out like what scales to play over any given rock chord progression, all you have to do is look for the chords that are a whole step apart from each other, the power chords, and then those are going to be 4 and 5 of the key they come from. Okay, and your next step after that is to compare the key that they come from to what I would call the tonal center or the strongest note. So this is one of these things. Is like when I describe it like this, I sound too intelligent, and it's not that. It's just that every tune has like a tonal center or a key.
Yeah.
Okay, but that key might be major or it might not be, or it might not be minor, or it might be something modal. Like you don't really know what it is. You just know that that one note seems to kind of stick out as being sort of the strongest of all of them. So so that seems like it's kind of the next step is to figure that out first, and then compare every other chord to its related key and to the strongest note. So, for example, if I have E, then C to D to E, and if I'm playing it like this. First question is, what's the strongest note?
E.
E.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it walks up from C, D.
Right.
That sounds like home base. Yeah.
Right. So then you have the two chords that are a whole step apart from each other, which are C and D, right? So C and D come from what key?
I'm sorry.
So
You guys
C-
are kind of skipping out a little bit. Is that happening on your end or just on my end?
no, it was not happening here. Is it happening to anybody else?
Could be my internet connection. Let me log out and log right back in. I'm just going to switch over to
All right, go ahead.
the
So we asked C, D, E. What key are they from?
Yeah. Okay, so he's going to log out and then log back in.
All right.
How's things with you, Dana?
Good. How's things with you guys?
Good. Busy.
Yeah.
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 good. Yeah.
But it's good. It's good to be kind of back out doing things again.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
glad to hear it. Yeah. Good to be keeping busy.
Yeah. Oh,
There.
there he is. There's Dustin again. Jane, how about you? How's things?
Oh, good, thanks.
Good.
Yep.
Cool.
Go
So,
on.
all right. So there he is. Okay, there we go.
Sorry about that. Hopefully that'll get rid of the skipping video and whatnot, because I didn't hear that last question you said. So
Okay, so the last question. Actually, I'm going to ask Dana to see if he knows the answer to this. So Dana, if the strongest note is E, and then we've got these two chords C and D, what key do the chords C and D come from? What key does the chord C and D come from?
I guess I'm confused by the question, but I mean when I think of something that rides on E
Right.
and goes down to a C and then up to a D, I'm thinking usually like Aeolian. Aeolian.
Yes.
With a-
Okay. Yeah, and you're right. So all I'm doing is I'm sort of backing up and trying to explain why that is.
Okay. Because
Okay.
when you say like what does C, D, and E come from, I don't know. Initially, to me, I'm thinking the key of C, but it's not really.
Well,
more-
it's not. It's in
two
as much.
major.
If the E chord is a major chord, then it's E major, right? But then when you go to the C chord followed by the D chord, those two chords come from the key of G, right?
right.
So
Correct.
your next step is to compare the key of G. Compare the key of G to that E note. So the next question that you'd ask is, in the key of G, what degree is an E?
The sixth,
It's a sixth. So what's the sixth mode?
Aeolian.
Aeolian. So what are the characteristic notes of E Aeolian?
Is the flat six and the natural two?
Yes. So the point is, yeah, that's
Good
it.
job.
So
Bye.
You know, my education paid off.
so
I gotta do this. I'm kind of late to the game.
yeah, okay. Somebody has a question.
No, I don't have a question. I'm doing an applause.
Oh,
for
an
Jane.
applause. Oh, okay. That looks good.
Oh, I see it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
nice.
that's
Great
cool.
job.
That's
All
a
right.
golf clap. Little golf clap.
Yeah. Okay. So Dana, play an E major scale.
An E major scale, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be for the E major chord, right? And then I'll follow that up with an E minor chord.
Aeolian minor.
Yeah. Right. Now, since we're over Zoom, we can't play it together, but Julie and I can. So, Julie, can you play the E major scale? Okay. Now, quick question. You guys can hear her okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. All right. So now when I play the C chord, you're going to play an E minor. Right. So all she has to do is if I'm playing the E minor. Yeah. That's kind of how that works. Is that I mean you're kind of changing keys when you're going to the C to D chords.
So why? Forgive me for not understanding this right off the bat, but why go to E minor with the C to D?
Because C to D come from the key of G major.
And E
Because they're
minor
both, they're both
and harmonic
major.
minor. Okay, got it.
So the basic idea is that you're comparing the key that the chords come from to the tonal center.
I see now. So correct
So when
me.
you're playing, so when you're playing the E chord, you're playing an E major scale.
Right, and then
But then when you go to the C and D chords, those two chords are related to the key of G, but
Because they're a step apart.
yes,
Right.
They're major.
right. Now,
Okay. What I wasn't getting is seeing them as independent of the E.
say again?
What I wasn't getting about that was so your thought process here is seeing the C and D and seeing G major, E minor.
Yes.
I was thinking of it through the lens of seeing all three of them together, E, C, D, and then one scale that works over all three.
Right.
Not that the C and D were independent of the E.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That's precisely it.
Got it.
If it were an E minor, you could
Yeah.
play E minor over the whole thing.
And it's
Sure.
right, and it's the kind of thing that like things like that happen all the time. Like when you heard Julie changing the keys, it wasn't like, oh my God, she did something illegal.
Right.
Oh
You
boy,
know what
I
I
never
mean?
break
Like the
law.
scale police aren't knocking at our door.
You're under arrest.
You're under jazz arrest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so
Crimes against bebop.
yeah, okay, so that's kind of the principle. So could we could we bring up that PowerPoint? Okay, so did we do
We
this?
talked about a little bit about this last time.
Right. Okay. So, did we go through all the examples of this? Does anybody know?
I don't remember, to be honest.
We were going
Okay.
to go through modal
Okay.
chord progressions.
Okay.
So
All
we'll
right.
just do a little recap.
All right. So we're going to start with just a recap. Okay. So,
We
you know,
talked about this, right?
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah. So one of the most important things when I wrote that book was these next three sentences, was realizing it's important to be able to understand how modes work in at least these three different definitions. So the first definition is that a mode is a major scale starting from any degree other than the first. So for example, A Dorian is a G major scale starting from its second degree. Right?
Yeah.
Second definition, a mode is a major scale with notes altered. For example, A Dorian is an A major scale with flat third and flat seven.
And
So
flat
you
sixth.
you have flat.
Oh wait,
A
it's
Dorian is
supposed
an
to
A
be
major
natural.
scale. Yeah,
Oopsie.
yeah. So that's actually wrong. That needs to change. But A Dorian is an A major scale with flat three and flat seven, not the flat six like you see.
Aeolian would be that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Third definition: a mode is a major or minor pentatonic scale with notes added. Okay. So for example, A Dorian is an A minor pentatonic scale with natural 2 and natural 6 added. So pentatonic scale being a 5-note scale, modes are 7-note scales. So it would only make sense that if you're starting with pentatonic, you're just adding 2 notes to get the complete mode. So the point is like if you go back and look at all three definitions, they arrive at the same point, but they all do it differently.
I will point one thing out, John, because
Yes.
I always see modes taught in the first manner,
Yes.
major scale starting from any degree other than the first. And everybody obviously understands these differently, but I will say from my perspective, the way my brain works, I could understand the concept of a scale starting from a different degree,
Yeah.
but it seemed overly complex, and it really screwed me up on understanding what was going on harmonically behind those scales.
Yeah, the one bad downside viewing it this way is you think that if you start C on the second degree that you're playing Dorian, but if you're in a chord progression that's C, F, and G, it's not going to sound like Dorian at all.
That's
Exactly.
right.
But if you have a Dorian chord progression and then you play that shape, then it is going to be Dorian. So.
Right.
Yeah. So I always struggled, honestly, until we started doing these classes, I really struggled with the modes. I'm honestly, over the last decade, could not understand the relationship between harmony and scales. But number 2 and 3 make a lot more sense to me in
Yes.
context of that.
So the cool thing about definition 3 is that you'll learn that definition 3 essentially tells you everything you need to know about modes.
Exactly.
And the reason why is because all the characteristic notes of any of the modes, not including Locrian, but any of the important information about the characteristics of any of the modes is contained within that definition. So essentially, the simplest way to play over a major or a minor chord is to play either a major or pentatonic scale, a major or minor pentatonic scale over any major or minor chord. Because what that's going to do is that's going to give you just a generically major or minor sound against the chord without giving you any more information. And sometimes that's the best thing to play.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
But
we should demonstrate that.
yeah,
That-
okay, yeah. So play an E major chord.
Should we take this off?
You can leave it on for now.
Okay. It has
All right,
a
so-
mistake though.
Yeah, actually.
Example 4.
No, not that. Let's see.
E major.
Yeah, okay. So if I have, let's see, miscellaneous backing tracks. Oh, wait.
You got to bring out the Jeff Beck one from the Guitar Camp. That was a lot of fun to listen to.
Yes.
That is a fun backing track to work with.
Yeah, which one?
The Jeff Beck one?
Yeah. Was it Come Dancing?
Yes, Come Dancing. Yep.
Okay.
I'm not saying you got to bring it out right now, but just in general, you got to. That is just a fun track.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is called. This is a solo section out of a tune by the Allman Brothers called Blue Sky. Okay. And the chords in the solo section just E, and then A. So it's the simplest thing in the world. Okay. Now, what I could do to solo over that is I could just play E major pentatonic. And then if I wanted to, is I could also play A major pentatonic when she gets to the A chord. So. Okay, or I could. So. And it's interesting because only one note changes going between those two, right? So that's one way to do that. So listen what happens. Then E, A, okay? So that's often the simplest way to handle that. But then what I could also do is then just take that idea and then add. So now I'm just
tell
playing
what
E
you're
major.
doing. So you're playing E major pentatonic.
Yeah, and then I'm playing an E major scale.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do you want to try, each of you trying to play E major pentatonic and then play E major in the same position so you can see there's only a couple notes added?
Yeah, I can try that. Just the one thing I want to ask for diving into that, John, you said you made mention of the fact that between the E major and the A major pentatonic, there's one note that has changed. What is that note? I'm struggling to remember what it is.
Over E major pentatonic, play E major pentatonic.
Sorry.
Good. Now replace G sharp with A instead.
Okay. Blah. This is where I run into trouble where I think in terms of patterns
Right?
instead of in terms of notes, which is something we were talking about this at the guitar summit or whatever, that I need to break myself out of this. So bear with me as I
So it's
struggle.
not even okay. So I'll say this: It's not that patterns are unimportant and irrelevant.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is that as you're working with the patterns, also work on being able to identify the notes within the pattern.
Sure. Absolutely. So
That will make it suddenly make a lot more sense.
yeah, that's the what I've been working on ever since we did that a month ago. So
Yeah.
going from G sharp to A in this scale.
Yes. Yes. And you'll notice that when you do that, that it's now a different pentatonic pattern, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a familiar pattern.
It's now A major pentatonic.
Yep.
How many of the notes are the same?
Yeah.
That's I would never have thought to compare this pattern if I was just thinking strictly in terms of patterns. Would not have thought to compare this
Yeah.
and the second pattern and see one note difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Okay. So Jane, are you with us on this so far?
I was for a little while.
Okay.
You know, with the
Where did we lose you?
But you lost me a little bit.
He's too
but
busy doing
keep
classical
going.
stuff. They don't do pentatonics and classical stuff. So
No, no, but it's funny. Just today I was looking at a harmonic analysis of Taraga's Studio in E minor, and
Yeah.
it starts off with the 1, 2, 5, and
Yeah.
then a little bit later he shifts to a G major scale, but sort of mimics the 2, 5, 1. So it was just
Oh, I see.
Isn't that
you know,
cool?
yeah, it was
So you
really
start-
cool, and it was just funny that this was how we started off today.
Yeah.
It's all related.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
Okay, Dana. What about you? You with us?
Yeah, I think so. For me, though, it's easier to just play an E major scale than it is to think of an E pentatonic where I'm adjusting one note.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So and sometimes it's useful to go back and review it in that way because what if you're going from pentatonics, it sort of reminds you what's different going from the E chord to the A chord.
Mhm.
Because there's not a lot different.
Your ears get in tune.
Right.
And somehow, you start playing the pattern, but then as the music takes over, then you realize, oh, I can see this
Yeah.
note is going to change just a little bit, and then I
Sure.
can express myself with that new color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always seems like the chord determines the scale, really, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because
I actually read an interview not too long ago with someone that conducted with Eddie Van Halen, and it was one of those like mind blown moments where he said like you shouldn't even learn your scales until you've got a handle on the chords, and I just went,
Oh.
oh, chord scale relationships, like that's
Yeah.
what it's all about, like
Yeah.
because we all start off learning scales, learning chords independently, but it's the relationship between the two of them that really matters, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
And yeah, and it's oh, who's that?
Phil,
Phil. Oh, somebody new coming in.
let's see.
Cool.
We got a newbie. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hi, Phil. Welcome.
They're connecting to audio.
Connecting to audio. Okay.
Oh, they're gone. Let's see.
I said hi to him and scared him off. Oh God, not you.
Not me. All right.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
wait a minute, this isn't the Book of the Month Club.
No, that's right. That's right. So do you want to? Okay. So do we want to continue with the?
Yeah, let's talk about maybe a different mode with the chord
Yeah.
progression.
Okay. All right. So now let me see. Okay. So these next few examples, I think we reviewed them. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first example is C Lydian. Okay. And then an example of that is the song Flying in a Blue Dream.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a couple of observations.
Let's look at the chord.
Yeah. So yeah, now the key is let's see. So it's a D chord. We see in the bass, and
Yep.
actually, that diagram is actually wrong. It's 3rd fret, not 4th fret.
Yeah.
To a C chord. Okay. And then there's a series of observations that come with that.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is that a C Lydian is a G major scale starting from its 4th degree. C Lydian is a C major scale with a raised 4th. And then finally, C Lydian is a C major pentatonic with sharp 4 and natural 7 added. So we did this before. So okay. So now there's
Should I
C.
skip to the chord progression?
Is it okay if we should we review these or skip them?
It's up to you guys.
Okay. All right. Let me do it real quick.
Oh,
Yep.
well,
Okay.
it's 7:41. What do you think?
All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah. What else do we have to touch on tonight?
I wanted to talk about the modal chord progressions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. So keep going.
It is wild though that
Here,
Flying a Blue Dream is just those 2 chords over and over again.
That's
I
right.
love that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it changed key though.
Yeah. And then it changes
Yeah.
key in the solo
A
section.
little back.
Keep going.
Hi, Phil.
I'll have a little Flying a Blue Dream to welcome Phil to the club.
Welcome to the Guitar Club. Let us know if you have any questions. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Flying in a Phil Dream over here.
Okay.
Is this it?
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we are. We're going to be talking about modal chord progressions.
So when you're looking at a chord progression, you're trying to figure out what scales. What I try to do is the lower left-hand corner is the 4 questions that I try to ask myself anytime I'm looking at a chord progression. Okay, and these next bunch of examples sort of demonstrate that. Okay, so so I'm looking at chord progression. First thing I want to ask is what's the tonal center, which means what's the strongest note. Okay, and then the next question is what's the related key, and what that means is that if there's 2 major chords a whole step apart from each other, you can consider those to be 4 and 5 of the key they come from. So
Okay.
that tells you the related key. So,
That makes a lot of sense.
so comparing tonal center to related key gives you the mode. And then once you know what the mode is, then you can also easily extract from that what the characteristic notes are because of that relationship between pentatonics and modes.
Mm.
See? So,
Let's look at the chord progression.
yeah. Okay, so the chord progression, it's
Okay.
a G chord, then A chord with G in the bass, then G again, then A with G in the bass. So, okay. So here's the chords.
That's G Lydian.
Okay, so Julie's playing the G Lydian scale against that. You can hear how that works. Now, on the top line is what's called a suggested melodic guide. And really all it is just a little melody that kind of lays out something, a way that you could organize what notes you gravitate towards. So Julie, play the suggested melodic guide,
One.
and then when you're ready, just improvise based on that.
Okay.
Do the and.
Oh, I'm trying to keep the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Jane, still with us? With that, did that make sense?
Yep, a little bit.
Okay, so it's basically that the chords come from the key of D, right? But the strongest note in the chord progression is probably G. So G is the fourth degree of a D scale, so therefore it's a G Lydian scale. Okay, so to practice this, what you would do is you would first learn the suggested melodic guide, okay, then learn that scale fingering that's indicated, and then just sort of work on creating your own melodies over that chord progression using that information, like just like what you heard Julie do. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, Danny, you good?
You love Lydian? I love Lydian.
Yeah.
Lydian's a lot of fun.
It was,
Yeah.
it was interesting when I first started working on this stuff that I was very much I very much identified with shapes.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, this was a D major scale. This finger.
Mm.
But then once I started experimenting with modes and things like that, right? And like you said, you play like a progression, a G Lydian progression like this.
Yeah.
You start to find out that, wait a minute, I've always had this in my mind that this shape, this fingering is D major. It's always going to be D major. It's never going to change. But now it's something else. And that
Right.
the notes that I used to gravitate towards in D, I'm gravitating towards different notes. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so maybe staying more on the G and then definitely that C sharp, which really brings out the
Yeah, so it's kind of about the notes that you're emphasizing, isn't it?
yeah.
right. Yeah. So it kind of helps you to break out of that. At least for me, it helped me break out of that being so much of a shape player. And
Yeah.
Well, something beautiful about the shapes is that you get those notes in your fingers and you get the tonal center in your ear.
Yeah.
So there's nothing bad about it, but this is just taking it to that next level and kind of opening up a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
It's kind of like looking at it from a bird's eye view or even getting closer in. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is that, like, if you've been playing G G Lydian, for example,
Yep.
if that's a new thing for you, the thing that helps is the fact that if you've already been practicing your D major scale,
That's true. That all this,
That's
everything found in, yeah.
It's right there.
you gravitate towards that. So, for example, I find a lot that this, like, for example, when I play in B minor a lot, I find myself gravitating towards this D major thing. Do you see what I mean? I tend to gravitate if I'm playing over a mode that I'm not all that familiar with. I
Right.
can grab a related, I don't know how to say it, I can grab a fingering that I associate with a different mode to
Right.
kind of get me through for that moment.
Because you're
Yeah.
familiar with with the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
And then you're able to play something that's musical while you're kind of getting your bearings.
Right.
Dana, I went through a very similar like sort of progression, and I'm still working through it. But it seems like there's like the mechanical getting of it, and then you associate it with one tonal harmony. Then we all figure out it's movable up and down the scale. So like the A minor pentatonic box, we all know you move up and down, and then you start to realize, oh, this box in context of other harmony isn't A minor anymore. It's the same box, same physical pattern, different scale in terms of harmonic content.
That's exactly right.
That's that boom moment.
Yeah.
You know? It's like an evolution of understanding, if that makes
That's
sense.
right.
I
That's
love
right.
it. I
Yeah.
love
And
it.
for me, this was the stuff that when I started playing around with it more and actually making it work, that was when I kind of literally got weak in the knees. Like, it was like, oh my God, like everything about what I thought was true is true, but there's this whole other thing out here that now I can now do, or at least I know where to look now.
Yeah.
You know,
It's-
and that's
exactly
really
how-
what it is.
Exactly how I felt when I was like, oh, wait, this A minor pentatonic, I know I can move down to an E minor pentatonic, but the A minor pentatonic may be a different scale with a different chord behind it. That was that weak in the knees moment for me, too.
Yeah.
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 That's so
It's
cool.
Love those moments.
wild.
Yeah.
It's
So let's have a look at the next example. So this one's going to be This is going to be just simply G major. Okay, so the chords are G, C to D. So 1, 4, 5 in the key of G. Okay, and then the suggestive melodic guide, G, C to D. So if you play the chords, to
1, 2, 3.
and here's the G major scale. Right? So, you know, like having that G major scale as sort of a basis, and also I'm deliberately presenting the major scale sort of in the middle of the instrument, because if you can do it there, then you'll be able to find it every place else. I think that one bad habit that comes up a lot is practicing the scales where you're always starting on the sixth string. And,
Yep.
and I feel like that doesn't help after a while.
Yeah, it gets stuck in that rut. For
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's partly why I'm introducing the scales starting on the fourth string,
Yeah.
you know, just to kind of get away from that. So does that make sense so far?
Ionian.
Perfect sense.
All right. You want to try Mixolydian?
Yeah, let's try Mixolydian.
Okay, so Mixolydian.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so a couple of observations. G Mixolydian is a C major scale starting from its fifth degree. That's definition one. Definition two, G Mixolydian is a G major scale with a flatted seventh degree. Okay, which means that if G major is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, then the F sharp becomes F natural to convert it to G Mixolydian. Okay, which brings you back to, well, it's just the same notes in the key of C. It's also a G major pentatonic scale with 4 and flat 7 added. Okay, so now the chord progression is G to F. So the strongest, the tonal center is G. Right? You can hear that the G is the stronger of the two for some reason. Okay.
John,
So, yes.
To interject, a quick question.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at this with Mixolydian, you just mentioned that the G is the stronger of the two, right?
Yes.
Do you typically find, because the F is a step lower than the G, that the higher of the two in this duality that we're talking about is usually the stronger of the tones?
Not always.
Not always? Okay.
No, because, I mean, think of the Lydian example, it was exactly the other way around.
Good point.
So, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so no, not always.
Okay.
It's just kind of how I just kind of go by how it feels,
Sure.
you know. So anyway, okay, so the suggestive melodic guide. Okay, and then the scale. Okay, to go ahead and improvise. Yeah, yeah. So all she's doing is she's playing a G major scale but flatting the 7. Right? What would you say about what you were thinking about?
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Questions?
All right.
Okay, want to do the next one?
got 6 minutes.
Okay.
Dorian.
All right. So G Dorian. So G Dorian is a okay. So the chord progression goes G minor, then B flat to C. Okay. So do we have two major chords a whole step apart from each other? Yes, we do. B flat and C, which come from the key of F. Okay. So if you play all those chords, G minor is the strongest note, or G minor is the tonal center. The related key is F major because B flat and C are 4 and 5 of F major. Okay, G is the second degree of F major, therefore G Dorian. Okay, then the characteristic notes of a G Dorian scale are what? Who knows?
Dorian is
Answers on the screen.
The answer's on the screen.
oh yeah, flat 6, yeah,
Natural 6.
Natural 6.
natural 6, yeah.
So Dustin, play a G minor scale, but raise the sixth degree.
Okay.
Backwards.
I got that a little wrong.
Yeah. So on that third string.
Yeah, where am I screwing that up?
Right there.
Ah,
There you go.
you're right.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right, you want to play the chord progression for me?
Yeah, let me get this back up again. There we go.
Okay, so I'm gonna play. So I'm gonna start with the suggested melodic guide. Okay, here it is, and then. Then here's a scale. And then the characteristic note is natural 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So you can sort of hear how that might work. Hopefully. Any questions or comments?
No, that makes very good sense.
Okay.
Great progression, by the way, too.
Great.
G minor, B flat, and C.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Very
yeah.
simple, but very effective progression.
Yes. Now, here's the difference. If you convert that, now here's something else too. So play the same chord progression, but now play G major instead. So what I'm going to do is when she's playing the G major scale chord, I'm just going to play in G major. But then when she plays a B flat to C, I'm going to go back to G Dorian. So the whole key to it is that whole thing of looking at the two major chords a whole step apart from each other, and then comparing that to the key they come from, to the strongest note, which is the tonal center.
Yep.
So, okay, so let me see.
I'm writing down what we went over.
Well, it's so cool to know too that I know this comes a little bit more from the jazz world, and a
Yep.
lot of rock players don't think about it, but the thought process that you just articulated there, like over a G major, you're playing one scale, but over the B flat to the C, you're thinking not necessarily in a different key, but a different scale scalar relationship to the chord.
Or more specifically, all I'm thinking about is that only 3 notes actually change,
Yeah.
That is
which
so
to me
nice.
that greatly simplifies it.
Yes, it does.
You know, I mean, I think I've said this kind of over and over. It's like, you know, any of my educational material is all about me trying to nurture my inner dumbass. You know, because, you know, like I can't think if I have to think too much when I'm playing, I don't sound as good. You know, so
Well, none of us do. Yeah, it's gotta. The instinct needs to come through in something. You know.
right. That's kind of what I'm saying. Okay,
Yeah.
do we have time to do one more?
We are out of time.
Okay,
So maybe next time we'll go into more
yeah.
little chord progressions.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe next time we could pick up on the door. We'll go through Dorian, Aeolian, and then Phrygian, and then just talk about how those were, or anything else. If anybody else has any questions or comments about directions about things that you want us to cover, you know, just let us know that too. You know, we're starting here just to kind of start the conversation.
Well, I think it's so beneficial if you have a looper pedal, just go through these chord progressions. The video will be up on YouTube, and if you just put in those chord progressions into your pedal, and then you can play the modes over it. It's so enlightening.
Yeah,
Yeah, or just like I've been getting a lot out of taking the backing tracks that you guys have given us, which are on the page from the last year, and just
Yeah, we have a lot of those.
putting them in my DAW and running them through, and just practicing along to those chord changes. You know,
Good.
so that's very helpful as opposed to just sitting and running scales and
right.
trying to memorize positions and whatnot. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that's really the whole thing is just you know, just being able to get you know, just be able to get to a point so where you can hear the chord progression and have some idea of what you might do with it. And you know, and I would also suggest going forward, experiment freely. Like these methods are certainly not the only methods out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and really just trust your instincts. Like if something sounds good to you, even if you don't fully understand why it works, it still works, even if you don't understand it.
Right.
That's like guitar nirvana. If it sounds good, it is good, even if you don't understand it, right?
Right.
And sometimes our intuition is smarter than we think.
Yes.
Our inner ear.
Yeah. That was something that was kind of huge for me.
What's that, Dana?
Well, somebody said, trust your intuition sometimes smarter than you are. And I said, not mine.
Oh, no. Maybe you haven't trusted it enough.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. I mean, it's just, you know, it's the whole thing of like hitting those happy accidents too, you know.
That Indiana Jones thing where you take the leap of faith and then the bridge appears in front of you.
Oh, that's one of my favorite moments in that movie.
Because it relates to, I'm sure you had moments like that, improvising, and you just take the leap of faith and you just hit the note and it lands.
Sometimes you crash and burn.
Right. And
But we don't die, so that's good.
Right.
Exactly, but that's the risk you take. You don't actually fall down the canyon, but when the bridge appears, like,
Beautiful.
that's awesome, isn't it? When
An
you
Right.
hit that note.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like but the thing is, it feels like you're gonna die, but you don't actually die.
No, you never.
Yeah.
You don't.
That goes back to the whole ego thing about being a musician. You know.
Yeah.
So, all right, very cool,
Well,
you guys.
cool. Let's pick a date
Right on.
for next time. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for doing it again, by all means.
We love it. November, holy cow.
Yeah, we've been doing this for like a year now, which is kind of mind-blowing.
That is so amazing.
Over a year, I think.
Want to do November 7?
Yeah, maybe we started in October. Now we're starting Songwriting Club on Saturday.
Yeah.
Wait, are you?
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna have to jump in on that one because
Yeah.
it's actually synchronous, because that's something that I'm getting really deep into right now because I've never really studied songwriting that much. So
Oh, it's wonderful. So if you go to my website, in fact, I'll put the link.
yes, please plug it.
There's a prompt. There's a couple prompts for writing to start to begin with before we actually officially start. So
When's the first session?
Saturday the 8th at 2 p.m. Where is my?
Oh, this coming Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, actually, that Saturday, that's pretty fun because that night John Petrucci is also playing here in town at
Gosh.
the Egg in Albany. I was going to ask you guys if you're going to see him at Berkeley a couple of days before.
We
or
abs-
not.
Yes,
yeah, we
are.
absolutely are.
I'm sure. I kind of figured you would be.
Wait a minute, that's isn't that coming up?
Yeah, he's Friday here and then Saturday down.
Yep. Yeah, you guys will see him on Friday, and then I'm seeing him on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, I put the link in the chat if you want to check that out, please. come in.
Absolutely. I'm putting it in my phone right now.
And then the link for the Zoom is there, the time, and also to check out to start some writing in advance.
And that's on the website. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Because that is an area, thank you for mentioning that, Julie, because that's an area where I need a lot of help. Like I'm good with guitar scales, I'm good with guitar chords. Putting them together to make like a statement is what I need to actually go at. So
This is all about stepping off the cliff.
Yeah.
And reaching.
and waiting for the bridge to appear. Exactly.
It will.
So November 7th, we're thinking?
November 7th, 7 p.m. Are you writing what we did?
Yeah.
Lydian, Ionian mix.
And anything that we can do ahead of November 7th to prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say go back to the Ionian backing tracks, the Lydian, the Dorian.
Mhm.
You know, just to get your hands and your ears accustomed to those sounds.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll just kind of finish off this piece of business. Because one of the things that I really want to sort of focus in on is like learn the scales, but also learn where the characteristic notes are and how to figure out, that relationship of the tonal center versus the key it comes from versus what mode it comes from versus what notes are the characteristic notes of any of the scales that are being played, and then being able to find it. And it's like being able to process all that information without having to like think about it too much.
Without having to consciously think about it. Yeah, processing it in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So review. Then.
All right, cool. Well, you don't have to watch John type.
Yeah,
So
I'm just
we
typing
will
for next
see you
time.
All good.
back in November. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know. Anything. Keep jamming. Keep
Thanks,
having
Carol.
fun. And we'll see you in a
Good to
month.
see all of you guys.
Good to